Last week, we told you about the Texas governor sending his National Guard troops to kick Border Patrol agents off of a strip of borderland where the Border Patrol was trafficking large numbers of migrants into the U.S. Well, Biden's DHS responded by sending a cease and desist letter demanding that the state of Texas allow Biden's Border Patrol to continue funneling illegal border crossers into America. Now, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is setting up for a showdown, saying Texas will continue to ban federal agents from the border in an effort to protect Texas's borderland from the unprecedented invasion. He wrote this letter to Biden's DHS saying that because the facts and law side with Texas, he says, quote, the state will continue utilizing its constitutional authority to defend her territory, and I will continue defending those lawful efforts in court, he said. He then told Biden's DHS to get back to enforcing the immigration laws that Congress already has on the books. He went further to write that the Biden admin has failed to uphold its duties in Article 4 of the Constitution, which states the federal government, quote, shall protect each of the states against invasion. Local citizen journalist Joseph Trimmer went on Real America's Voice to show what the border area in Eagle Pass, Texas now looks like now that Biden's Border Patrol has been kicked out.
I wanted to show you something really important. This here behind me is the Texas National Guard and the State Guard. I don't know if you know that Texas has its own separate military forces. We have our own Army, our own Air Force, and our own Navy under the Texas Military Department. But if you see here, we have the brave women and men in uniform protecting the borders of our country. You see them right there with riot shields, ready to turn back and or arrest any illegals that attempt to cross our border.
Yeah, those are Abbott's National Guard troops there. Joining the show to discuss is independent journalist Taylor Kramer, who has covered various parts of Texas border extensively. Taylor, thanks for joining the show. Now, you were very skeptical of the Texas governor's latest moves at Eagle Pass, but that video we just showed, it appears that they do have that part of the border secure. What are your thoughts at this point?
Well, I'll say my thoughts really haven't changed. If you look at how they were dealing, how the Texas State Guard, Texas Military, Texas National Guard was dealing with that situation, they had a couple of guys up at the front with riot shields. That was not your standard practice for that kind of operation. They had long guns on them with their riot shields. That's not how that's done. You have a secondary team that's behind you with firearms, and your team in front would be a hands-on team, and they would have batons and shields. And if you saw, there was women pushing right past these, big military guys. So to me, it reminds me exactly what you see on the southern border of Mexico when the caravans come through. They'll put a couple of Mexican National Guard guys out there versus about 10,000 people in a caravan, and they go, oh, whoops, they pushed through. Well, at least we tried. So I'm just seeing more theater.
Really? Now, you had also made the point that a lot of migrants are simply diverting to either side of Eagle Pass because it's still a long border. So is it really stopping the flow?
Well, exactly. You're absolutely right on that. You have to remember, this is a little area, Shelby Park. It does see a lot of traffic, but it is a little area. And it seems like, all the Texas state press releases, they're keeping you focused right there and not in other areas.
And Governor Abbott also has the Texas State Police out there. You were talking about them arresting migrants, but then it's unclear where the migrants go, because when I went there in December before the takeover of this plot of land by the governor's officers, but at that time the governor's National Guard officers were still there, and they were handing migrants over to Border Patrol, and Border Patrol would continue doing what it does, bringing them further into America. So that's the thing. If they arrest them, do they eventually hand them over to Border Patrol, or are they actually turned around and sent back to Mexico?
So if they are deporting, you would be able to see that there is a bridge that they send illegal aliens back across that Border Patrol has in the past. I don't know if DPS is doing a separate processing, but from everything we're seeing, you got to look at what they're putting out there. So the state all the state press releases from the state government, DPS or whoever else, they are showing a lot of handcuffing at the park, putting into vehicles, but you don't see where those vehicles go. And you're not seeing any detention centers set up by the state anywhere. They're not talking about that anywhere. So you have to think, where could they be holding these people? Are they holding them in local jails? We're not seeing any information on that either. So you just have to kind of think like a lawyer here. And from what it seems, it looks like they are eventually making their way to Customs and Border Patrol and will eventually get processed and released by them. You know the deal there.
I saw a report that one person from Border Patrol said, this is great because now Border Control can now go man other areas because Texas DPS and National Guard is right there in Eagle Pass, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, it looks like they are standing to intimidate migrants from coming up to the shores there. If anything, I feel like this is creating good noise. It's creating noise for people to be aware of this problem, I think, and to kind of what the AG is doing today, I think, is at least shining light very clearly on the fact that Biden's DHS is violating the Constitution because there's an impeachment inquiry right now on Alejandro Mayorkas. I wanted to ask you about video you filmed this week in McAllen, another border town. You asked the leader of Catholic Charities about missing children who've been crossing the border illegally. For those who don't know, Catholic Charities is federally contracted to bring migrants into America. Border Patrol drops busloads of migrants off at the Catholic Charities building, and this woman, Sister Norman Pimentel, gets them taxpayer-funded plane tickets further into the U.S. But some kids end up vanishing, so you asked her about it. Watch.
Sister Norma, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Taylor, very nice to meet you.
Hi, Taylor.
I just want to ask you real quick. So you work with the federal government, you work with HHS and DHS?
I have. I'm
Yes.
not directly, no.
No, but you work with them. So I was just wondering, they can't find over 80,000 unaccompanied minors. I was wondering what kind of program or what is Catholic Charities doing to prevent any more unaccompanied minors from disappearing or possibly find any unaccompanied minors that have...
Not directly involved with that, but my support is to help the families be safe and be reunited.
So right, so if how are you sure those families are safe if you don't know if they are with their actual family? If they could be if they could be trafficked?
And I wish they could be together, and if there's anything I could do to make sure that happens, I will do it, you know?
Well, I think there's a lot of things we could do. So would you like to maybe talk about that sometime? No?
I
Okay.
would like to get involved.
So then after you asked that, or at her MLK event this week, you end up getting kicked out of that event by a swarm of police. Watch.
We just finished talking to your owner. He asked about you. So get
Why?
you
Ask him why. That's
He
all I'm
doesn't want
asking.
you here.
Yes, but I wanted to know
He doesn't
why.
want you here. Step outside.
Yeah, I'm going to.
You're
But
going to be forced outside and be placed in the room.
for what exactly?
Trespassing. Step outside.
Trespassing. 1, 2, 3 police officers. Oh, security. Must be a really dangerous guy, huh? Wow. I mean, what is this about? Pretty crazy.
Wow, that is pretty wild. Why do you think you got kicked out, Taylor?
Well, I mean, it's the kind of business as usual down here. If you're asking the right questions, if you're just looking for the truth, you're going to get kicked out of most establishments. So it's important to note that I asked that question right before 5 o'clock, before the event began, and I got kicked out around 7 p.m. and I was harassed by security guards and employees all the way through that.
I watched you.
So-
You had 7 or 6 minutes of video, I think, on Twitter, and you were very peaceful and respectful the whole time. You were filming the speakers, like a lot of people were filming the speakers. So it's just interesting that they kicked you out. You were kind of targeted once you asked about missing migrant children. What do you know about these missing migrant children?
Well, if you are to look at all the information, and there's a lot now, there is a whole lot of information because it's way over 80,000 now. And if you, there's my good buddy Carlos on Twitter. He was a federal whistleblower, and he actually worked for some of these, worked with HHS to get these kids, on flights and everything else. And he was one of the guys who would chaperone the kids and hand them off to the person that was going to receive them, the emergency, basically the person that's kind of like an adoption thing. So the people that were receiving these kids were on drugs. I mean, just shady, everything you could think of. And he's constantly getting emails and different stories from people that still work in that industry, in basically illegal child trafficking industry, saying, hey, for the last month, the addresses have been wrong, or the people have been wrong. You've been dropping them off to the wrong people. And it seems like a lot of these kids are going to Florida, and they're going to addresses that either don't exist or are, other illegal aliens are living there, gang members, things of that nature. It's very, very dark stuff.
Wow, scary stuff. Well, hopefully we can get to the bottom of what's happening there. I know Project Veritas exposed some aspects of that with DHS's role in sending these kids who came unaccompanied across the border all over America. So I hope you continue investigating that. We can have you back on the show. But Taylor Kramer, thank you so much for coming on. Independent journalist from RGV Truth, RGV Truth on Twitter. Thank you. And now a message from our sponsor, Zelenko Labs. If the COVID pandemic taught us anything, it's that you have to take control of your own family's health. You can't rely on the government or big pharma, and that is why many of you count on Z-Stack. Did you know that there is a specially formulated version of Z-Stack made for people who took the vaccines? It's called Z-Detox. Z-Detox contains vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, NAC, and ECGC. Dr. Zelenko's Z-Detox formula is especially created for individuals with weakened immune systems, especially those weakened by the COVID-19 vaccines and boosters. As many of you know, Dr. Vladimir Zelenko was the world-renowned doctor that President Trump credited with his successful early treatment protocol and his decision to take hydroxychloroquine. If you were forced to take the vaccine, if you have friends or family members who took the vaccine, order Z-Detox today and help your immune system fight back. Supercharge your immune system. Go to zstacklife.com/headlines and order today. Use promo code headlines to save an additional 15%. Go to zstacklife.com/headlines and order today.